campers. So I want to talk to you about closing karmic contracts today. How to close karmic contracts, because there are two aspects of that. And I think a lot of people ignores one of these aspects, right? So when we find ourselves in a karmic situation, so we're connecting to a person who is our karmic relationship, and that happens because we actually as a soul plan that encounter before we incarnated in this lifetime for a specific reason. A moment comes that we exit that relationship, right? For most cases, it's complicated, but for most cases, for the purpose of this video, most karmic relationship end at some point, right? But sometimes, unfortunately, exiting that relationship in the physical world doesn't mean that we've actually closed the karmic contract, right? So many people, they just realize that a relationship, it's karmic, it's, sometimes toxic, it's not a true connection, it's not serving, so they move away. But if you only move away in the physical, which means you creating a false sensation in the physical, moving on, you leave this person, right? You break up a relationship, you move on, you start a new relationship, you forget about this person, but that actually doesn't mean that you have closed that contract, right? So there are two aspects of that karmic relationship. One is the lesson, and another is the person. It never comes one without another. With a karmic relationship, one does not come without the other, right? So you cannot, and this is a common misconception, you cannot enter a difficult relationship with someone just because you have karma to pay to them, right? There's always going to be a lesson for you in that. It always works like there's always going to be a lesson. This is how we design our journey of life. In 99% cases, there's gonna be a lesson, right? So how to close a lesson and how to close that karma with this person are two different separate things. So how we close a lesson, we see and we learn. That's the only way we can close it, right? So let's say we have that karmic relationship as an example. Someone was supposed to teach us that we have a lot of worth, right? And we've been entering relationships when someone is taking more than they're giving, and we're allowing that because we don't truly feel that we're worthy of reciprocated love, right? That is your lesson, right? So if you're exiting a karmic relationship and you don't understand that, you don't see that lesson, you haven't learned that lesson, you're not in a place, okay, I'm breaking up with this person, but now I know I'm worth more. I'm worthy of a relationship that what I give, I will receive in return. I will never put myself in this position. Lesson closed. You have learned your lesson. But if you truly haven't, if you're breaking up with this person, but you're putting the blame on this person, you're not understanding your side, you're not understanding your shortcomings, you're not understanding that you've actually put yourself in this position, that you've actually allowed this person to treat you like that, and now you have to work on your self-worth, work on your boundaries, you have not completed the lesson. What does it mean? It will come back to you in a different person, in a different shape or form. And this is what we kind of call those karmic patterns, right? So it's not the person that you're repeating as a pattern, but that lesson that you have to repeat throughout different people, different persons, because you're not learning, because you're not seeing, because you're exiting that relationship. Maybe you know that this is karmic, maybe you know that this was toxic, maybe you know that you were not supposed to be in that relationship, but you haven't really learned the lesson. Learn the lesson is to know, understand, take accountability, take responsibility for my actions, regardless of the actions of another person, and never ever repeat that again, right? That's the first aspect. That's how you close the lesson. The second aspect is the person, because sometimes the karma part of that relationship, it's not just about the karmic lesson, but it's about the karma we have accumulated with this person through lifetimes, right? So what I want to mention here, and it's important as a side note, that it never, most cases, it doesn't exist on its own, right? So if you are in a relationship that is difficult with someone, it's never going to be just because you owe them this, right? Like I said, most cases, it's never going to be I owe them this, so I'm paying my karma and I'm suffering in that relationship and now we're done, right? It's always going to come with that lesson. So don't forget about the aspect of the lesson as you're trying to process that relationship and close it out, right? So that lesson is important. But once you understand the lesson of that particular person, you also have karma with them, right? So how do you release that karma? Because you can process the lesson but not process the karma, or other way around. You can process the karma and the person, karma with the person, but you cannot process the lesson. So how do you actually close the karma? We know how to close the lesson, learn it and never repeat it, right? But how do you actually close the karma with this person, not to repeat that in the next lifetime? You forgive them. And I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what horrible atrocities this person has done to you. The lesson is always meaning to lead us towards forgiveness, because forgiveness is something we do for us, not for them. Forgiveness is our closure, and forgiveness is the only way we release karma that we have with specific soul. This is why it ain't easy. This is why that karmic relationships sometimes go from one lifetime to another, because I talk about this a lot, and I think I've done a video about this separately. The moment you shed this physical body and you return home, you die, and you have resentment towards someone, you're saying it was your fault in this relationship, like you wasted years of my life, you treated me poorly and will never forgive you this, you were narcissistic, you were this and that. You are building karma. So the moment you both will die, you will return to spiritual realm. You're like, okay, you died and you haven't understood that it was just something that I had to do. We agreed on that. I had my journey, you had yours, and it was your lesson. You didn't release me, right? You had that resentment in your heart towards me. Well, now I have to pay you back. So let's do this again in a completely different setting, in a different lifetime. Now you will harm me and you will cause me pain, and I will try to release that karma. And again, if that person doesn't do it, we go back around. So if you truly want to release someone and karma related to someone, you have to forgive them. You have to find it in your heart, following your healing journey. That sometimes is very difficult. Sometimes it's years of self-work, of therapy, whether that's spiritual therapy with a shadow worker like myself, or a normal therapy with a therapist, or working with a shaman, energy reader, whatever resonates with you. But sometimes it's years of hard work. Sometimes people work on that on their own to reach that moment. I understand. You have given me, because I always say this, people always give to the capacity that they have. You have given me maximum of that what you could. You treated me poorly because you didn't know how to treat me otherwise. You've caused me pain. Pain always comes from a place of pain. People who cause us pain are people who, our oppressors have been victims, right? Victims create victims. So if you are incapable of reach that moment when you understand, I forgive you, you've given me the maximum of what you could, it had to happen, it was part of my lesson, it was part of my journey, it was part of my learning, it was part of my growth through pain and through suffering, and I release you, I forgive you, it had to happen, and it helped me to become a better person, a stronger person, a soul that grew through this experience, no matter how painful it was. I forgive you, I release you. Only with that, you will release karma with that person. I hope this was helpful. And as always, if you have questions, let me know. So when we talk about closing karma, we always talk about on our level, from our side, right? So in order for you to close a karmic contract, like I said in the previous video, you have to learn your lesson. your individual lesson, because the person connected to you through that karmic contract, their lesson may have been completely different, right? So you make sure that you've learned your lesson, that you've processed your lesson, that you understand your lesson. And part two, as I mentioned, you forgive this person, you release them, right? You now say, I know why it happened, I owe you nothing, I have no negative feeling towards you, I release you with love. Now, if they continue to reach out to you, to be around you, to you still find yourself like crossing paths, there might be two elements here, right? So I always say that when we truly close karmic contract, truly, this person just naturally disappears from our life, right? It's like we shift timeline. We grow towards a higher timeline where we've already learned that lesson and this person is no longer there. We no longer have the need. This is what happens with karmic connection. This is why it's so different from soul ties. The moment we release that truly, this person just is no longer there. So perhaps there is still something that you're not seeing. Perhaps there's a lesson of boundaries right here. Perhaps there's a lesson of not feeling maybe guilty or ashamed to say, I really have no space for you in my life. Like, I appreciate the lesson, I appreciate the experience, and I've released you, but no, I will not respond to your messages. I will not want to see you. I will not want to be with you in the same room. And I have right to say that. Maybe you still feel like you own this person something. Maybe you're confusing a little bit being kind and being nice to this person with not truly having boundaries. So maybe there is still something, right? So think about that, because when we truly, sometimes there are certain levels of the lesson, right? Sometimes the biggest lesson in the connection is to see our worth and to release this person for not seeing that. But then there's this element of really standing up for ourselves, really having that boundary, really saying no, not feeling ashamed that I don't have space for you in my life, right? But when it comes to them, as long as you close it on your end, this person should naturally disappear from your life. When you truly, truly process and close the lesson and the karma part, it doesn't matter whether they've closed it or not. They will truly disappear from your life. There are some cases where we stay connected to certain people, because let's say you had a relationship with this person and it was a long relationship, so you still have certain things in common. That might be some finances, maybe you have a child together, maybe this person is the part of your family, maybe you work together, you work in the same building, you live in the same building. Do you know what I mean? So in those kind of cases, this person may still be around, but the moment you close the karmic contract, they will not cause any kind of distress within you. They will not cause any kind of trigger. They will just be like all the other people, because you truly have closed it. You will look at them and I really wish you well. I really wish you all the best. I hope you'll be able to one day to close that contract on your end, but I owe you nothing, right? So it won't be causing any negative triggering emotions. If it's still causing those emotions within you, go deeper, go within, think the why. Why am I feeling like this? Why do I feel the need to respond to this person, to respond to their messages, whatever that is in your case? Because if there's still a trigger, there's still emotion within you about them, it means there's still something that you might not be seeing. Missing them, it's okay. Sometimes there are emotions that take us a little bit more time to process, right? And it's not really that easy. So when you are truly in that moment that you're sure that you know what was your lesson, you've learned that lesson, you would never put yourself in the same situation. You've grown, right? And you've released karma with this person. So you've let them go with love. You have no negative feelings towards them. You don't regret the time that you spent together, because you understand that it was necessary. Even if it was difficult, even if it was painful, it was necessary for your growth, right? So you truly release that karma, you truly release that pattern, you truly release that person, but you still miss them a little bit. It's okay, because that emotion, it takes time to release it naturally. And I always say we shouldn't be forcing ourselves to anything. So give yourself time, give yourself grace. It's sometimes when you spend a lot of time with another person and you develop a bond, that's why I always talk about this, that when we exit one relationship, it doesn't matter whether it was a soulmate or a karmic, we need that space before we enter next relationship to sever the energetical connection that is always formed between two people who spend time together. Even if it's just, friendship, if you physically spend time with another person, if you are intimate with another person, if you think about another person, you are creating energetical bond. And the stronger that bond is, even if it's a karmic, the harder it will be to naturally sever that bond, right? So give yourself time, give yourself grace. It's okay to miss them. It's okay to occasionally think about them and send them love, and feel a little sad. Heal that heart. But as you are healing, I would also advise you to really think about, why am I feeling like that? Because oftentimes I feel like we are confusing, am I really missing the person, or am I missing the feeling, sensation, and situation that I was with in this person? So truly think about, do I miss this person, as who they were, right? Because we can have that if we break karmic relationship with someone that we're in a romantic relationship with, or a friendship, and then it's this case that I spoke about, right? You've created a bond, you've created energetical bond, and it will take time to sever that bond and to sever that connection and to heal your heart that is missing this person, and it's absolutely okay. But just make sure that it's not the second case, that you're missing what this person was giving to you, because now you feel lonely, now you feel the void, right? Because if that's the case, if that's something that would be filled with another person and the presence of another person, that it can be a little bit dangerous. It can mean that you haven't completely learned your lesson, right? Because everything that we're lacking, I know it's difficult, right, to understand and to truly process, but everything that we're lacking internally, and we're looking externally from other people, we should truly be able to find within ourselves, right? So if you're missing them, not for them, for the person they were, but you're missing them because now you have no one to fill that gap, because you were spending a lot of time with them, and now you're on your own, now you're a little bit lonely because they were someone that perhaps were giving you some intimacy and physical aspect of that relationship that you're now missing, because you feel like there's no one to hug you, to hold your hand, to be there for you, physically, then that's a void that you have to try to heal on your own, and be there for yourself, right? To whatever this person was giving to you, create that for yourself, so you don't feel lonely, so you don't feel that void, so you don't go back missing this person. Because if that's truly the feeling, there's a risk that you will sooner or later will want to cover with another person, and you will again enter a random connection, again enter a karmic relationship, because you're not truly looking to connect to your soul connection, to your soulmate, but you're trying to fill in the gap and the void. I hope this was helpful. If you have more questions, you'll let me know.